Welcome back, folks. My name is LastKnownMeal, and today we're going to be talking about The Witcher Blood Origin. So whatever this is currently coming out on Netflix, and this is going to be a prequel set 1200 years before Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri, and this is going to showcase events prior to the Conjunction of Spheres. And the Conjunction of Spheres is one of the most important events in the Witcher lore, which is basically the shuffling of universes and planets. So whenever the Conjunction of Spheres happens, what ultimately happens is that you have a bunch of universes, worlds colliding together, creating all kinds of portals, and you have all kinds of monsters, different kinds of races or whatever being shuffled around different kingdoms and different planets and different areas. So what was the case in the Conjunction of Sphere was the arrival of humans on the continent. Prior to that, you had gnomes, dwarves, and elves, but even the elves were actually divided into, let's say, two major categories. You had Anshed, who were actually the elves on the continent, and you had elves which came to the continent. So basically, they were the part of the same kingdom, but they got separated when their kingdom was going, on the brink of destruction. So the NL is basically the Wild Hunt, or let's say one faction of the NL elves is basically the Wild Hunt led by Eredin. So this show was going to cover, well, some of it prior to the Conjunction of Spheres. Now the problem is Sapkowski is not, let's say, Tolkien, so Sapkowski does not really go a lot into the past to talk about every single event. Of course, there are events already described in the books by Sapkowski, some of the things which were happening, some of the people which were involved, but of course it wasn't really fleshed out to the point where you could follow his material and create a show. So most of the stuff you're going to see in The Witcher Blood Origin is going to be fan fiction and nothing else, just like the main show is fan fiction. I always like to wait and see before I judge anything, so I would like to watch the show before I judge it. But of course, even without watching it, there is going to be a lot of signs which I'm worried about and things which culminated in the past, let's say, month or two, which kind of showed us the actual image of the production itself. So with the departure of Henry Cavill, it is very easy to assume what was the problem in all of that, and we also found that out, which was a news segment which came out 2 months ago, where one of the writers on The Witcher, Bao de Mayo, actually said that you had writers writing the main Witcher show who were actively disliking the source material from Sapkowski and who were disliking the games themselves, and who think like you have writers that they can do a better job than the actual writer. Usually that never pans out right, and you get a bad show or let's say a bad film which doesn't go anywhere. So now when you hear about how writers writing the show on Netflix handle the actual author of the show, it is always sad to see that The Witcher Blood Origin is basically their way of saying, yeah, we can do a better job than the actual writer. There's a few things here. First off, of course that you're going to have a bunch of spin-offs and a bunch of shows in today's era. This is something which companies and production houses do. Netflix, HBO, Disney, whatever. You're going to have a brand being The Witcher, and you're going to do everything you can to maximize the amount of money you gain from this. So basically in today's era of production, especially when it comes to streaming services, it's always about quantity versus quality. You have to feed the beast. Now, of course, if quality gets sacrificed, well, that is something you just have to deal with in the format they choose to do. And I don't have a general problem with spin-offs for as long as people care about that source material and follow certain aspects and certain boundaries of that universe, so you can kind of create your own story. CDPR was doing that with The Witcher games. The Witcher games were set after the books, so most of the stuff, or majority of stuff you have in the books is, designed and written by CD Projekt Red. And it fits so well to make you think, wait, did Sapkowski write this? Because ultimately they care about all of these things which they were writing about. But on the other side, when you have writers like this write Blood Origin, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever in the lore, and especially because they're gonna be doing their own fan fiction, ultimately you get a glorified D&D campaign. Because that is exactly what this is, a glorified D&D generic fantasy shows. Going from a few things I'm going to talk about. First off, the elves. The elves were living in harmony with nature. But one of the first things which stand out here, for example in this show, is that elves here feel a lot more like humans in terms of how they live and how they interact with nature. Like for example, this city that they have does not look at all like it's being made by dwarves. This actually looks more like it's made by maybe dwarves or gnomes, but I'm pretty certain that it's not going to be the case. Because in general, I doubt they're gonna be showing Mahakam or anything close to it. Now, at the same time, there are some lore bits from this part of the world where basically you had a conjunction of spheres. But when I read the actual plot of the film, or well, the series, I see this. Taking place in the Elven Golden Era, 1200 years before the time of Geralt, Yennefer and Ciri. Alright, that's fine. The Witcher Blood Origin tells the story of 7 strangers who joined together to fight an unstoppable empire. An El maybe? Eredin maybe? Again, it's very vague depending on how they actually tell the story, but even that was not really taking the place that way. Though they hail from warring clans, okay, Ailey and Fjall must learn to trust one another if they have any hope of leading this band of outcasts on their quest to topple the continent's oppressors. Who? That's the problem. Like, I'm thinking, is this going to be a fight between Anshed and N.L. where Eredin is going to come? Because Eredin is listed on IMDb, so they might go for it, but at the same time, a lot of these things don't really make sense. Now also they decided to do one thing, and that is to include Jaskier. Now of course Jaskier is not gonna be traveling in the past, I believe. For as much as I was able to see, I do believe that Jaskier is going to be narrating this whole story, but of course he's not gonna be traveling 1200 years in the past, because that would be extremely stupid to do from the writing perspective. But again, he's included because you always want to have a guest star in your show to attract more people, and because Jaskier is one of the, you know, characters and actors in the show who people actually do enjoy watching and who is good, you know, you're going to include him in your spin-off to attract more people to watch your show. Trust me, Jaskier has nothing to do with this show. He was just included to attract more people, and they said like, oh yeah, you're gonna be narrating this, so yeah. At the same time, I have a big problem when it comes to set design overall. Like, when it comes to just cinematography, that's great. I mean, you know, it's Netflix, they have professionals working on it, people who know how to give you like amazing scenery, that's fine. But the writing and set design standpoint, this doesn't make sense. One of the images I, for example, saw here with one of the actresses wearing what seems to be, for me, very modern like clothes. It stands out so much from everyone else that one of these shots actually reminded me of Star Wars. If you like showed me this image and you told me, yeah, this is the screen cap from a new Star Wars film, I would say, okay, seems like it. I mean, the lightsaber is not there, but the outfit is definitely there. I would think that, but no, this is The Witcher. So this is the problem you have when you have writers, when you have a showrunner who refuses to look at the main source material and who consistently keeps telling people that they're gonna be doing one thing, but they keep doing the other thing, which is a story for another video I'm making. But this is what happens when you have people who don't actually understand and know the source material. I don't have a problem with them actually talking about everything in the prequel, the conjunction of spheres. Yes, it's amazing, even though, you know, they name it The Witcher because that's how they're going to attract people to watch it in the first place. If this didn't have The Witcher name in it, this would be your generic fantasy show. It still is, but it has The Witcher in the title, so it's going to be more appealing for people to watch. It's a common tactic used by production houses. Even Ubisoft is doing that with Tom Clancy, for example. Nothing to do with Tom Clancy, but they bought the license, and of course they're gonna be doing it. And a spin-off as a spin-off, like this event being one of the most important events in the Witcher universe, is fine. Honestly, I would love to see what was happening with the elves and all of that. It would be amazing. But the problem is, it's not going to be that. It's not going to have any logic with the books. They're not going to try to explain anything. They're just going to have your generic show with the generic ending, with a generic monster, and that's it. And even though this has nothing to do with the Witchers, it also has nothing to do with the universe. even how it was described or the feeling of that universe whatsoever. This feels like it's basically a part of a different book and a different, just a different universe in general, where it just doesn't make sense. And of course, if you want to watch this, if you like to enjoy this, feel free to do it. I'm not saying go, no, don't watch it, whatever. I don't care about that. But what I care about is that Netflix, or well, the showrunner, Lauren, has been actively pushing this show into the ground without any explanation whatsoever. And every single time when someone asked about something, it's always going to be deflection, and more deflection, and nothing is going to be actually said. So when you give me this most generic fantasy shows with generic characters, you're not doing anyone a favor. And honestly, like one of the biggest, let's say, discussions is obviously going to be about actors and which actors are hired, with skin color, etc, etc. Even that can be done well. Like, it's not big of a deal, like, especially if the actual actors know how to act. I would be lying to you and to myself if I said, it's because of this, it's because of that. For me, if an actor knows how to act, for me, that's going to be enough. But at the same time, if you are refusing to follow the source material, if you're confusing how elves are supposed to look like, where do they come from, why are they the way they look like, if you don't know how to basically explain that, that means you just included characters for the sake of including characters and not for the sake of the story. And that is sadly which is happening in most shows, and that's what's happening with The Witcher as well. They turned a really cool, amazing piece of literature, amazing world into this washed out, generic show. And I'm afraid that The Witcher is going to follow the same thing. The more they go into season of The Witcher, the less and less it's going to be The Witcher. Even now, it seems to me, they're forcing to be The Witcher just because it's in the name. They don't understand the universe, they don't understand the lore, and they don't understand the sensibilities of this universe. So these are my thoughts on The Witcher Blood Origin. Honestly, it's nothing special, and I might watch it, I might not, just to see how much they can fail, pretty much, when it comes to everything. And the dislikes are absolutely terrible, and also people are very angry about Henry, and they have every right to be, because Henry loves this universe. Henry loves Geralt. And to push that person away who loves this universe so much, that requires incredible talent. And ultimately, this is going to be the downfall of this IP when it comes to Netflix itself. Don't forget to tell me down below what do you think about all of this, and also don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button for more. And as I said, just tell me what do you think about it down below. Look, if you enjoy this and you want to enjoy this, go for it. I'm not gonna be one of those people who's gonna tell you again, don't watch it. You do you, but don't expect anything special, absolutely not. Just expect your D&D fantasy campaign. Also, huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters, and also if you want to support the channel in an extra way, I do have a Patreon page. This is LKM signing out, stay classy everyone, and bye bye.